Over the past decade, tens of millions of people across Africa and Asia have gained access to electricity and cleaner cooking for the first time, in large part due to technology and business model innovation. But more and new types of innovation are still required if we are to end energy poverty by 2030. To shed light on the role of innovation in achieving this goal, I'm joined by Dr. Nicola Lazenby, who is Innovation Lead on the Energy Catalyst program of Innovate UK. Nicola oversees an annual competition that acts as a springboard to innovators working on energy access, both for clean cooking and last mile electrification. Welcome, Nicola.
Hi, William. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. So on this question of energy access innovation, access to finance is often cited by energy access innovators as being a main point of a main challenge in terms of reaching the goals that they have. How is Energy Catalyst helping to solve that problem?
So yeah, thanks for the introduction, William. Energy Catalyst, as you mentioned, is an annual competition which provides funding to energy access innovators. However, I must say it's more than just the funding. Whilst the funding is one element of Energy Catalyst, we also broaden that out because we definitely see the need in providing additional support to energy access innovators. So the likes of support we provide is support in finding collaborations, finding the people who work well and complement your innovation, and those who will benefit from it. We also provide a lot of acceleration support. This is really ensuring that as innovators develop their technologies, they actually have the business skills and knowledge to make those sustainable and actually really grow and really meet the needs of the target audience. We also focus a lot on gender equality and social inclusion to ensure that the innovation is really mapped to the end user needs and really builds in the community as opposed to just being dropped in and left.
Yeah, interesting. So more than funding, but I would also point out maybe that the grant funding that you do provide is often a critical piece that many early stage or even middle stage, late stage companies lack if they have an innovation in mind, but they don't have the working capital to actually try to make it work. Is that right?
Yeah, most definitely. We sit in that nice middle ground where research might have just came out of university and is looking to really grow and scale and develop to the next level. However, they're not really ready for venture capitalists, angel investors, those kind of things. And they don't actually have the funds themselves. So they maybe have used some personal finance to get to where they are now, but they need quite a substantial bit more investment, which we provide through the grant funding to really get them to that next level. This is kind of a good, grant funding is really good for them to not release equity and things like that. This is a way of them getting some cash to actually develop their technology without any risk. Obviously there is some risk, but it's a very different risk to, say, traditional investment.
Right, maybe too risky for traditional investment, but they're at that inflection point where if they had just a little bit of grant funding, they could get to a place where it would attract commercial money. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just the bit of finance to tip them over to the other side. So they maybe haven't had their first demonstrator or haven't quite done their first trial of the technology. And our grant funding is kind of a stepping stone to prove to other investors that this technology is worthwhile.
Absolutely. So all of that said, there's been a lot of progress over the past decade, as I mentioned, but according to the International Energy Agency, they just issued their World Energy Outlook a couple of weeks ago. We're actually going to see an increase this year in the number of unelectrified people in Africa for the first time since 2013 because of COVID and the pandemic. So clearly, I think my takeaway from that anyway is that we have a long way to go still. And so I'm wondering, from your work at Energy Catalyst, what are some of the main challenges that still need innovation to solve?
I wouldn't say there's main challenges that need innovation to solve. I would say that the innovation is actually already there. It exists. However, a bit like the net zero challenge, it's getting that technology and scaling it quick enough to meet the demands that there are. So I wouldn't say it's new innovation that's required. It's the development of existing innovation to the scale that is required to meet some of these demands on energy access.
So are you saying that it's less disruptive innovation, more incremental innovation, or is there also disruption I mean, true disruption that takes an industry that's, set in its ways and disrupts it, or is it more the incremental type that you're seeing?
I would say it's probably a combination of both. You'll have some areas where real disruptive innovation is required to make a change in that sector. However, in others, it's more incremental improvements, but done quicker. So it's not kind of the one step, wait a few years, next step, wait a few years. It's really looking at how we can drive forward the efficiencies in the innovation journey of our innovators to actually get out there and really meet the needs of the communities they're working with. It's no longer the case where you can put something in and trial it for, say, a year or two to then find out how it's going. We're looking at how we can really trial things quicker, get responses quicker. There's the analogy that we give the opportunity to fail fast so we can work out what is successful and what is required to meet the challenges that you set out.
Yeah, and you're, I think, is it round 8 with Energy Catalyst?
Yeah, round 8 closed in September.
In September. So, looking back over the past 7 rounds, can you sort of pull out an example or two of what an incremental innovation looks like, what a disruptive innovation looks like that Energy Catalyst has supported?
Yeah, so we've had quite a mix of projects which we've supported to date. I guess thinking about it, there's the likes of Gamos, who came through in round 4, and they really changed the narrative around clean cooking and really put a renewed spotlight on the e-cooking sector. You also have a lot of things in the storage sector, which is really changing quite rapidly. So the likes of Acceleron and Mobile Power, who are really bringing new business models and ways of doing things. For example, Mobile Power has just gone into Sierra Leone, Uganda, Zambia. And these are really new markets that these organizations and innovators can really change. You've got a lot of things coming through in the Internet of Things and really looking at how we connect energy, things to do with smart biogas monitoring, and really, in a new COVID world, there's a lot more about doing things remotely and doing things virtually. So I think that's one area that could come through a bit more as time goes on.
Yeah, you mentioned Acceleron and what was it, Mobile Power, is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, Acceleron, I think, is quite interesting. Gamos as well. E-cooking, for those who may not be aware, is electric cooking. And so most of the focus on clean cooking over the past decade or even longer has been around cleaner burning biomass stoves or natural gas solutions. And Gamos is really taking a look at what's possible by bringing electricity into the cooking realm. And I think that's super exciting, what's going on with Gamos. I think Acceleron, and they're very interesting in trying to take a circular economy approach to batteries.
Yeah.
So I think those are all excellent examples. Any others that sort of come to mind immediately?
Not immediately. I mean, for anyone who's interested in Energy Catalyst, if you keep an eye, we're due to launch a website quite soon, which will list all of the innovators that we've supported through this various stages. So yeah, you can have a good dig through those and see what we supported and how, and what they've gone on to do.
Excellent. I'll be sure to look out for that. So you mentioned this earlier, outside of financing, the role of partnership and fostering collaboration. There's a number of organizations that you fund, companies, research institutes, universities that are in the UK where you're based, but then there's also many, and probably the majority of the organizations that you support are actually on the ground in Africa and Asia. How do you see the role of that collaboration between organizations in the UK, for example, in Kenya, or someplace in the other countries that you mentioned, and why is that so important to achieving innovation success?
Yeah, great question, William, around collaboration. That's really important that we have the right people in the right places doing the right thing for the project and innovation. Energy Catalyst really supports this pre-competition. Before COVID-19, we would actually take UK entrepreneurs and innovators to various international countries that we are working in to try and broker some of those collaborations. it's quite hard for somebody sat in the UK to find the right collaboration partners in country, and vice versa. In-country partners can't necessarily find the UK partners. So we used to try and bring them together to share their knowledge and expertise on how they could make complementary projects. So this could be, for example, bringing together a university who maybe have the IP with a innovator who's working in a bigger system, and join those together so they're all integrated with a local partner who's delivering this on the ground. So it's really key that the right collaborators work together. It's never good to work with people who you don't get along with. And I think there's a real challenge there in rapidly forming collaborations. Forming a good collaboration takes time. It's never going to be formed over the space of a month or two, or one visit in country. So it's really important that innovators work throughout the year and look at those opportunities to network. So the likes of ASI Africa is a great opportunity to find out who else is working in your field with complementary skills and innovation that you can build together to form your collaboration. So a good example of this from Energy Catalyst is looking at pyrogenesis. They've built a really strong consortium around a UK university and in-country partners, and that has led to developing a project which is stronger than the sum of all of its parts. I won't go into too much detail. As I say, the website will be launching soon, so anyone who's really interested can look at that. But yeah, it's just a real challenge in bringing people together to benefit. I would say that Energy Catalyst also reinforces this when it gets to our mid and late stage projects. We actually make collaboration compulsory, and we actually, as a competition requirement, require an in-country partner. So really are pushing innovators to form those collaborations, because we really do see the value that collaborations have in making a strong project.
Yeah, absolutely. So pyrogenesis, I believe, is a waste gasification technology, just FYI for our viewers. Yeah. And I want to reiterate what you're saying. I think that even more so now, post-COVID, the role that local innovators and entrepreneurs will play and need to play in terms of solving these problems has increased. But having access to intellectual property and some expertise that maybe comes from other places to then help localize that for the local context, I think that's an amazing opportunity, but it's still a big gap that needs to be filled. So it's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've seen quite a lot now in our projects that are on the ground now with regards to COVID-19. Obviously, the UK entrepreneurs and innovators can't travel overseas. So there's a real push and leverage of in-country partners to support the delivery more than ever of these projects.
Yeah. So last question for you is around, so all of these, the 7-8 years of work that you've been doing, there's a lot of learning and knowledge that I'm sure has come from that. How important is that in terms of, aggregating that knowledge and shaping that knowledge and sharing that knowledge? And how is Energy Catalyst, or what role do we need to be playing in order to make sure that we're not recreating the wheel over and over again, each country that we're talking about?
Yeah, there's a real challenge, especially now that a lot of things have gone virtual, in sharing the knowledge and expertise that is being sort of generated through Energy Catalyst. I think the energy access sector has a real need to share the learnings and lessons from each sector, but also ways of working in various countries, to really look at how innovators can make the most of the opportunities presented. The Energy Catalyst program has an accelerator, as I've mentioned, attached to the grant funding. However, we're really broadening that acceleration activity out to the wider energy access sector. So we're really looking at sharing the knowledge from our portfolio out into the energy access broader sector, and vice versa. There's a lot we can learn from what other innovators and projects are doing, and our projects can learn a lot from the broader sector. So it's really about bringing everyone together to share the learning and knowledge, because the only way we can get quicker with how we are deploying our innovation is if we get rid of some of these barriers and challenges. I would also say that with regards to the learning, all of the Energy Catalyst projects have their own acceleration mentor. And that is really key in getting them to address some of the challenges and some of the learning that they really need to conduct and receive to really amplify what they're doing. So instead of lots of little projects working in isolation, we're really trying to bring both our cohort and the wider energy access sector together to facilitate the learning between projects. And if anyone out there is really interested in this, by all means get involved. The more people we can get involved in this kind of work, the more lessons and more knowledge is shared and generated, and it only benefits the sector even further.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that Energy Catalyst and ESI Africa actually have an ongoing partnership to highlight the work that Energy Catalyst is doing in Africa and highlight the work that your portfolio companies are doing. And we also, Energy Catalyst, I believe, is doing a Lessons from the Frontline digital learning series, where there's an opportunity for local entrepreneurs and others to hear firsthand from their peers and experts on specific topics. So I would also encourage the viewers to check that out, as well as the new website when it's launched. And that should be sometime in the next couple of weeks or in the next month. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. It's everything that we're trying to do is just to facilitate the conversations and networking and take energy access innovators from being isolated in their own project to being part of a bigger community that really helps the rapid growth and scale of innovation to meet the needs that you've set out.
Excellent. Well, Nicola, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be certainly looking out for more from Energy Catalyst. Good luck with round 8, and we'll be following it closely.
Brilliant. Cheers, William.